Says which equation best represents the relationship between x and y in the graph? So remember yesterday when we went over it, I said that if you know how to find the y-intercept, you're halfway there. So what would be the y-intercept for this graph?
Would it be 3?
What is y-intercept of?
Isn't it like where it crosses over?
Yeah, where it crosses the y-axis. So it's 1. So that means you're already adding 1, so we could eliminate which two answers? A and C. And D, actually, sorry. A and D, because it says plus 2. And the y-intercept is actually 1. Now, also, what you could look at is you have a line that's going down. So that means that your slope or your change in y over change in x is going to be what? Positive or negative? It's going down, so that means it's negative. So which one of those has a negative? C, so you have your answer. 2. The dot plot below shows the number of emails sent each week by 2 groups of employees at an insurance company. So which of the following statement is true? Now remember, with all of these, you have to make sure that you are checking each one of them. So it says the range of group A is greater than the range of group B. So let's look at the range. Now remember, the range is the difference, right? So we're going to go ahead and find the range for both of them. Group A is 50 minus 10, and that's going to be 40. Group B is 70 minus 20, and that's going to be 50. So the range of group A is greater, is that true? Than B? No, so then that's false. Okay, let's look at B. The data distribution for group A is almost symmetrical, while the data for group B is skewed left. So is this data symmetrical?
Yeah. Wait. Almost.
Almost, yeah. You just need another dot right there, right? And is this one skewed left?
No.
No, it's skewed right, so that's false. Okay, letter C. The median for group A is 30 weekly emails, while the median for group B is 40 weekly emails. So let's look for the median. Now the median is what? The middle number. So you have 2 here, 2 there, 2 here, 2 there, then 2 and 2. So it's going to be 30. So this is 30. Remember, I'm crossing one from the bottom, one from the bottom, one from the top on each side. So here's 2, there's 2, here's 2, there's 2, here's 2, there's 2. So this would be what? 40, right? So then, is the median 30 for group A and 40 for group B?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, that's true. So we still need to make sure that letter D is false, so we're 100% sure that C is true. Okay, so letter D says the mode for group A is less than the mode for group B. So what's the mode for group A? What's the mode for group A? That's the easiest thing you could see, guys. The mode is the most frequent. So it's 30. So for group A is 30. For group B is 30. So it's saying the mode for group A is less than the mode for group B. So that's false. So your answer is going to be letter C. So it does take a lot of work, guys, but if you're able to do number 1 quickly, then number 2, you could take a little bit more time to make sure that you have it. Now remember, number 1, all you have to do is look for the y-intercept, look at the line. If both of your answers were negative, then you would have to do the math. Substitute X to see if it'll give you Y. We had been doing graphs, circle graphs, bar graphs, dot plots, and box plots. But we kind of forgot to do the double bar graphs, but it's the same thing. All you're doing is looking at the bar graph and checking to see if the statements are true or false. Now, the double bar graphs, they're usually going to give you a key to let you know what each bar represents. Now, this is talking about games and the results of the scores for a basketball game. And you have two players that they're comparing, and that's Lillian and Naomi. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and find out which one of those is true, because it's asking best supporting. So when they're saying best supporting, they're asking for true statements. So looking for true statements. So what we're going to do, instead of just writing all the numbers on the top, we could do it as we're reading it along. So it says, in game one, the number of points scored by Lillian was more than half the number of points scored by Naomi. So it says, for game one, Lillian had 12 points and Naomi had 22. So is that more than half?
Wait, no.
No, it's not. So then that means this statement is false. Okay, and that's all you're doing. You're actually proving if it's true or false. For letter B, the total number of points scored by Lillian and Naomi in game 4 was more than the number of points scored by Lillian in game 2. So in game 4, Lillian had 8 and Naomi had 14, and 8 plus 14 is what? So you have 8 plus 14. That's going to give you 22. So that's game 4. In game 2, Lillian scored 24. So is 22 more than 24? Is 22 more than 24? No, so then that means that's false. Okay, let's look at letter C. In game 4, the number of points scored by Naomi was 2 times the number of points scored by Lillian. So in game 4, Naomi had 14, Lillian had, Naomi had, 14, Lillian had 8. So is 14 2 times the number of Lillian? No, because 8 times 2 is what? 16. Okay, and then the last one, so that one's false too. The last one is asking the total number of points scored by Lillian and Naomi in game 3 was 7 times the number of points scored by Lillian in game 2. So let's look at game 3. So game 3 you have 12 and 16. 12 and 16, so you're going to add 12 plus 16, and that's going to give you what? 28. And in game 2, Lillian scored 24. No, wait. Yeah, game 2, Lillian scored 4. I was looking at Naomi's. So, if Lillian scored 4, is that 7 times the score for game 3?
Yes.
Yeah, because 4 times 7 is 28. So my answer is letter D. So basically, with double bar graphs, you're doing the same thing as with any bar graph. You're looking at the data, making sure that the statement is true or false. Remember, if it does say not supported, you're looking for those false statements. But always write F or T on your statements. That way, when you go back to the question, you reread it and make sure that you answered it correctly. So any questions before you start the practice? Okay, so this is a practice. It's only 2 problems. You're working on those 2 problems. And then you're continuing yesterday's review. Now, in the review, there's no double graphs, but they will be in your test tomorrow. So make sure that you're working on them. Make sure you're putting true or false, and turn it in when you're done, and then continue working on the rally from yesterday.